Ready? Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Bruce McBride, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the 271st meeting of the Municipal Police Training Council. I'm serving as chair today for Sheriff Mayfield, and I'd like everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for all those members in public safety who have given their lives in the service. Thank you. To begin, I'd like to welcome Deputy Superintendent, Gregory Thomas from the New York State Police to the council. Welcome. Thank you. I'd also like to have members of the council to introduce themselves and.
Good morning, everybody. Morning for the safe ride.
Well, me, right? As he said, right, Thomas.
Martin,
For the record.
Martin Matarazzo, NYPD.
Bruce McBride, State University of New York, retired.
Deborah Long, community representative.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like everyone to introduce themselves.
This way.
Johanna Sullivan, Director of the Office of Public Safety, DCJS.
Mike Bonds, Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Public Safety at DCJS.
Joe Popkin, Executive Deputy Commissioner at DCJS.
Holly Glavin, Deputy Commissioner and Counsel.
Natasha Harden, Associate Counsel, DCJS Legal.
Matt Schranz, Deputy Counsel, DCJS.
Jonathan Becker, Office of Public Safety.
Josh Fineout, Office of Public Safety. Michael Puckett, Office of Public Safety.
Michael Whiteley, Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence.
Jay Gasparini, Office of Public Safety.
And we'll start over here.
Dave Zach, New York State Association of Chiefs.
Sir,
For Council, New York State Sheriff's Association.
thank you very much. Molly?
Molly Bates, DCJS.
Rebecca Polito, OPDV. Megan Malone, OPDV.
Kevin Boyer, Office of Public Safety.
Adam DiVincenzo, Office of Public Safety.
Kendra McCalman, Office of Public Safety.
Frank Wade, Office of Public Safety.
Stephanie Russell, Office of Public Safety.
Kelly Gorton, Office of Public Safety. Paige Liu, Office of Public Safety. Michaela Nelson, Office of Public Safety. Carrie Gordon, Office of Public Safety.
Thank you. Thank you very much and welcome. Is Sheriff Toulon on the network?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I am.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
I will begin with remarks from Executive Deputy Commissioner Joe Popkin.
Thank you, Bruce. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here. The Commissioner sends her regrets. She's at the Governor's Cabinet meeting today. She said she'd rather be here, but just kidding. But she really wants to kind of express her sincere appreciation for all the work that the council has done. And as a brief update, just I know we talk about data and dollars a lot. But we are seeing continued sustained progress on gun violence across the state, statewide down about 20%, according to the latest statistics, which includes both New York City and outside of New York City in our GIV jurisdictions. And that's following a 50% decline from 21 to 24. So we're really hitting historic lows in gun violence thanks to the efforts of our local partners. We have had a lot of travel over the summer. But we're looking forward to the symposium next week. Hope to see many of you there for the Public Safety Symposium. And as you have ideas, we are also getting ready for the Governor's State of the State executive budget and looking to continue to advance the record level of funding, but also the initiatives that have helped keep New Yorkers safe and ensure a justice system that works for all. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the Commissioner's heart, and thanks to the wonderful DCJS team who continues to support us.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just take time to thank the division for organizing the Public Safety Symposium. It's just a magnificent undertaking, and many topics in policing, criminal justice, public safety, public policy are covered. So great learning experience for everyone. For the council, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the NPC 271st meeting agenda. Do we have a motion, please?
Motion for adoption.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, so the motion is carried. You now direct your attention to the minutes of the 270th meeting of the NPTC that were distributed by and I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt those minutes. Go ahead, motion, please. Thank you, Will. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Chief. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions, so minutes, motion is carried and the minutes are accepted. I'll now turn our attention to our agenda. And first we're going to hear from Michael Whiteley of the Office of Domestic Violence. Will give us an update on the domestic violence curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, MPTC Council meeting members and welcome guests. So my name is Mike Whiteley. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, or OPCV. I'm responsible for our Law Enforcement and Public Safety Bureau. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity this morning to present on a very important project that's been in the works for several months. It's a revision to the domestic incident response curriculum for the basic course for police officers. The last true version of this curriculum is dated in the year 2011, with additional materials added in 2023. OPDV has revised the curriculum and then worked closely with DCJS, Office of Public Safety, along with a panel of stakeholders to be able to present the curriculum to you today. As a recent retired law enforcement professional with 22 years of service, along with experience in academy instruction and law enforcement education on a variety of topics, I feel very confident that this curriculum has taken one of the most frequent calls for service in a complex area of law enforcement response and broken it down into understandable and manageable sections. It's been created to be delivered over 4 days, not necessarily in immediate succession, so that recruits can better digest the complexities that are involved with domestic incident response. OPDV's 3 pillars of survivor-centered, trauma-informed, and culturally responsive has been incorporated into this new curriculum with a focus on being victim survivor-centered response. Fully developed lesson on recognizing and assessing a victim's lethality risk from their intimate partner will ensure that these important and evidence-based indicators are understood and can be easily explained to a victim, along with the importance of an agreeable referral to the local domestic violence advocacy program. Trauma-informed interviewing, extreme risk protection orders, and non-legal options to address those who do harm in a relationship are now covered with this new curriculum. The 4 days are comprised of the following. Day 1 is an introduction to DV, domestic violence, and then a domestic call response. Day 2 would be covering on-scene investigations and then the documenting of the domestic incident. Day 3, primary aggressor and mandatory arrests, and then domestic incident common offenses. And the curriculum is wrapped up with a 4th day on DV, suspect arrest and processing, family court overview and extreme risk protection orders, and finally an advocate provider lesson, which has been developed in mind to have it presented by a local advocate within that area. Each day is estimated to be about 3 to 4 hours to complete, utilizing a variety of adult learning theories with lecture, class discussion, activities, and decision-making exercises. These lessons cover understanding domestic violence and coercive control, from call response and charging to processing, outlining safety options for victims, and ending with the importance of the DV advocate role. This curriculum has been piloted twice at 2 very different times during an academy. These pilots have not only shown how important it is for a well-informed and experienced instructor to be providing this instruction, but that the topic of domestic violence intersects at several other parts of the BCPO. The proposed days of instruction can be presented at integral parts of a recruit's education to obtain the most impact on their academy time. This project truly builds on Governor Hochul's commitment to promoting public safety and protecting survivors of gender-based violence. And before I turn it over for questions and motions, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the many people who have been who's been involved in the development of this curriculum. I'd like to recognize and thank the myriad of survivors who have engaged with OPDV through participating in survivor listening sessions, roundtables with the governor, gender-based violence regional councils, and the domestic violence retaliatory review team. Sharing their experiences with challenges associated with the law enforcement response has helped OPDV identify areas where we needed improvement in training materials for the BCPO. I'd like to conclude by saying, on behalf of Executive Director Kelly Nicholas Owens, thank you to the stakeholders listed. This is here, our stakeholder committee, who's been instrumental in reviewing the materials. I would especially like to thank DCJS OPS staff, Johanna, Josh, Mike, and especially Dr. Janae Gasparini, who has been instrumental in getting us here today. My team, Amelia Allen, Megan Malone, and Rebecca Polito, as well as many other OPDV members who provided valuable input into this curriculum. Working on this development has truly been an experience for us. We'd be happy to take any questions or hear any comments at this time.
Do you have any questions?
First of all, I think it's, thank you so much for this presentation, and I really appreciate the role of the advocate and involving survivors and advocates in revising the curriculum. I'm just curious, somewhere closely with the NYPD in New York City, and used to be an advocate in a police precinct in the Bronx many years ago. And we hear often from officers how, responding to a domestic violence incident is one of the most hated calls because, a lot of what happens can be outside what an officer can do. It's a violation, so unless there's an order of protection, they can't make an arrest. Somewhere in this curriculum, does it address that frustration and what officers can do? When, say a survivor wants an arrest and it's out of their control to make an arrest, because I think that sometimes when a survivor is unhappy with how the officers respond, it can just be as simple as the officers are unable to do something, and how they respond to that with the survivor can really make a big difference. And we hear this often from survivors.
Yeah, I think that it's built well into it because we were using that 3 pillars of survivor center, meaning that the survivor knows best what are their choices within the relationship. So having the officers be aware of taking the lead from the survivor, whether that be just needing to express what happened, make the report, or if they look for prosecution or involvement in the system. And then the trauma informed as well, knowing that it's not just always about the call that they're responding to, but the history that's behind all that and the experiences. So that it has built into it, and then concluding with the advocate piece where we're giving an opportunity to express the fact that what we're hearing from survivors is that they don't always want a law enforcement response of criminal justice involvement, but yet that seems to be the only option that they see. So providing them with an advocate information, showing them that there's another path to go, either through advocacy or even through family court.
If I could just follow up, Maureen, also in the arrest processing portion of the curriculum, we do talk a lot about making sure that they and asking the officer to explain why, and especially also in the context of the mandatory arrest piece, when an advocate may or may not want, a victim may or may not want an arrest to be made. So we talk about that, especially in the misdemeanor with a primary physical aggressor, explaining if they have to go forward, if they're not, explain why. And so there is definitely a big portion of that, especially in the arrest processing aspect of it. And as Mike said, in the overall tenor of survivor-centered trauma informed and explaining things and talking a lot about that and incorporating the advocate as much as possible. So I think we've covered it, but you never know. But that was definitely an effort to do that.
Yeah. And I was going to say that on the opposite side of the survivors who don't want police involvement, who don't want the criminal justice, even when they call 911 because they felt their life was in danger, and how that officer responds can make a difference. We see it because we have advocates in police precincts in New York City who work side by side with the officers, and we see it even whether or not they'll engage with that advocating, how that patrol officer responded when they responded to that 911 call. But yeah, so this is really great, and I think I'd love to, if it's possible, to get in on some of the training and see what's happening. been a long time since I've done this.
If I could also add the work we did, we incorporated these decision-making exercises. And they allow for the instructor and the recruits to really explore the, like, kind of the limits of the authority of a police officer. So there are certain circumstances where you'd see recruits express discomfort with, I don't want to leave. I want to make someone leave the house. And it's like, well, you can't, and here's why. And you get to really explore the limits of the authority of the police. It's a great learning experience for the recruits.
And we see it even, it's not just the criminal justice response. When we reach out to survivors, they don't want services. They want somebody to listen to them and believe them, and maybe somewhere down the road, they'll be interested in services. And that can make a difference, how you interact with that person, whether they're gonna either call 911 or seek the advocate's assistance when they're ready for, to take the next step.
I think there's also a lot of explanation in the beginning when we're talking about domestic violence, why it's happening, what's going on for the victim. There's a big, heavy emphasis on that so they understand sort of the root of what's going on and they're better positioned to be able to engage in those conversations. So we'll definitely make sure we get you to a class.
And if I could just add one more thing, I know it's not connected directly to the training, but what I also have seen over the years that has really made a difference is taking a look at how officers do respond and giving them feedback. We see this in the DOMSTAT where, the officers go in front of the, chief of the domestic violence unit to look at sometimes 911 calls and look at the body camera from that 911 call. And, it's used, not just sometimes it's accountability, accountability is important, but sometimes it's, helping to change that officer's behaviors, whether it's looking at something they could have done better or if they did a great job, and it's highlighting it now in front of their peers, in front of their supervisors that they did a great job. I'll never forget a few years ago, an officer, one of the chiefs, Chief Cock at the time, asked an officer when they were looking at the body camera, do you think that survivor felt that she was believed? Or do you think that she felt that she was judged by that officer? And I was like, oh my God, compassionate, leadership. It's so important. And I know that of all those people in the room, that made a difference for many of them.
Thank you. Other questions from the council?
I just had a quick question. On lesson 3, has it been determined or will it be determined at what point in time a body camera could be either turned off or repositioned as or unseen for the investigation?
Yeah, I think John could probably talk a little bit more because there is a body worn camera policy. And that's something that is approached in there, trying to be survivor centered, but at the same token, it's going to be dependent on each agency's independent policy or guidelines. And then recommendation could be always just silencing it. You've been putting on mute, but keep the video running so that at least there's that documentation issue.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely cover it in a couple different ways. One, in the curriculum itself, it talks about if the victim asks for it and you having to explain it. In our model policy, in the MPTC DV model policy, it talks about, obviously, because some jurisdictions for appropriate reasons have decided that they don't want to allow their officers to turn it off. So we talk about making sure you follow your policy, but the pros and cons of why a victim may want that. And if in your policy you're allowed to do that, and you can, that you're allowed to turn it off, and explaining why, that kind of a thing. And if you're not, we talk about explaining, and in the curriculum, and also we have it in the policy, explaining to the victim why. That it's, this is the reason why I can't turn it off. I understand what you're asking for, but this is the reason why I can't. We also talk a lot in the curriculum about the importance of the body-worn camera, as it can be really critical evidence depending upon, gotta factor that in the victims, but it can be very critical evidence to capture the scene right away, what the offender is saying. So it is covered, and then we also have a separate body-worn policy, but it's covered in DV policy, in the curriculum, and also, but it is a jurisdiction by jurisdiction policy decision based upon what they believe they, should allow their officers to do one way or another.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to kind of follow up on that, and if it's something that can't be done on scene with a body camera, that may not be, the only time. Just set up a follow-up and have them come to another location where the body camera is not necessary to be recorded, like within the station itself, to do follow-up. So just because they don't wish to speak then, that there's also follow-up at another point.
Couple questions. the number of hours, is that increased in this new program or does it remain the same?
Yeah, no, it doesn't increase by two.
Sure.
It was a 12-hour before, now it's up to 14.
And I noticed that there's an emphasis on officer safety.
Yes.
And in terms of reality-based training, would that be covered in 4 days or 3 days during this course, or would that be towards the end of the reality-based training?
I'll jump in there. So 8A reality-based training does require a number of scenarios. One of those scenarios is that domestic incident response is one of those scenarios. There are a lot of opportunities within this curriculum to do RBT light, if you will, right? So we do these decision-making scenarios. We find a lot of benefits of them in post deliveries, post pilot surveys. The recruits overwhelmingly found those decision-making scenarios to be beneficial, and that's something we're looking to incorporate into other sections of the BCPO as well. It's really their decision-making exercises designed to give recruits experience in ways that they couldn't otherwise obtain them in the academy setting.
Thank you. Thank you. And in terms of presentation, is this taught in a team model, police advocate, or is there any recommendation?
There's no recommendation. It certainly can be taught. The only team that we do have built in is for that last lesson, the advocate. It was built in mind for an advocate to teach solely, with the instructor there, but to kind of take that role because they're familiar with what's in the area and the services they provide. But in case of unable to find someone to do that, then the instructor, it is equipped to have the instructor do that.
Okay. Now, sometimes the whole course is taught in a team setting, but that's fine. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Just to follow up, I think the team model, that would be excellent because it gives the advocate credibility when she or he is speaking to the officers, and it also, values the role of the advocate when the officer or supervisor is doing their part of the training. So, and I'm pretty sure that most advocate agencies would love to participate in something like that at no charge.
I wonder, Mike, if you would talk about like the workshop and the plan that we're going forward, or is that, am I jumping ahead on your slide? I apologize.
Next is the motion switch.
But maybe we want to talk a little bit about the workshop process and what we're looking to do with that before they.
So, so basically what we're looking to do is, with Jay and myself, we'll be going across the state to academies to present an instructor workshop. The goal is an 8-hour class that will review the curriculum, but also review how to do the decision-making points, kind of emphasize the importance of the concepts of domestic violence and also the integration of advocacy at the, during this curriculum as well. So it will be a class that really gets them into becoming the experience to teach the class at the local academy.
Jeff Trillon, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
All right. Other questions? Comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask Dr. Long to read the 2 action items. We'll do one at a time.
Number 1, adopt the new section 7A, domestic incident response with a minimum standard of instruction for the base course of police officers and equivalent in campus public safety office course. The course is approved on after January 1st, 2026.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Accept. Second. All right. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion, that action item number 1 is passed.
Motion number 2, require that all instructors teaching section 7A, domestic incident response, attend the domestic violence instructor workshop offered by the Division of Criminal Justice Services and the Office of the Prevention of Domestic Violence.
Thank you. So that would be the motion to have a motion to the motion to. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposition? Abstentions? So the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bruce, if I could just say, I just want to thank Mike Whitley and the Office of Prevention of Domestic Violence staff. This has been a really strong, and the panel, very engaged panel, very involved. We were fortunate to have a really engaged panel that helped us. And I just want to acknowledge them and acknowledge OPDV for all the work. It's an important issue, and really feel like we had very educated people assisting us and guiding us as we were going through this curriculum. So thank you both. Thank you all very much.
Well done. We'll now move to our next item on the agenda. Michael Plunket.
And if I could just chime in on the last item, Johanna is also, if many of you know, has a history in this area. She was instrumental in helping us out, get this out the door, and weighed in more heavily on this, ever than we deserve. But I appreciate that, Johanna. Okay. I'll review just two small items related to the SWAT operator curriculum, and some requests regarding the instructor requirements. Asking for two modifications. The first one would be Section 8 legal issues. The instructor requirements for all of the sections currently require that a person is SWAT operator certified, if it's a course or an equivalent course, and that they've been on a SWAT team for 3 years. With respect to legal issues, we've received some feedback from the training center in Oriskany and then others that run this course on a regular basis. This is burdensome and probably unnecessary. An extreme example would be a career police officer, an attorney that defends police departments in 1983 cases related to SWAT issues would not be able to teach this unless they've actually been on a SWAT team. But a person that's on a SWAT team with no real legal experience could. And so we just want to rectify that so we get the right people in front of the class and avail the best instructors for those sections. And then the second one would be that was kind of a rollback of some instructor requirements. The second one would be kind of an enhancement, which is that currently there's a section firearms, section 13 of the course. The requirements to teach that course currently are MPTC firearms instructor. As the council knows, we've adopted new requirements for instructors at the basic course for police or equivalent, and then also for our new pistol instructor course and firearm instructor workshops. We would just like to create an equivalent standard here for those instructors so that folks teaching SWAT operators have also received the updates either the workshop or have been to the new pistol instructor course so that we have consistency across the board. So those are the two pieces. I've been happy to answer any questions, but if not, I'd love to entertain some motions. Sorry, this is the screen for you.
From the council. Assuming that this was vetted by SWAT instructors.
We've had, yeah, sure. The first item was actually feedback received from the field. So that was the folks actually delivering the courses. The second one, as you know, we've had a lot of overlap with our panel on the firearms course, and stands to reason, right? A lot of folks on that course, on that panel have SWAT experience or commanding SWAT teams. And so there's a lot of, we have a lot of feedback on it in-house, if you will, on the need for that. We have seen the need for that too out in Richmond. We have DJ go out there occasionally and just observe, and we've made some changes with respect to firearms, and there are some differences there. We want to make sure that we're consistent across all of our curriculum.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, Chief Madrasa will read each action item. Adoption.
Motion number 1, revise the instructor requirements for Section 8. Legal issues to remove the requirement to have successfully completed a basic SWAT course and have a minimum of 3 years experience as a SWAT operator. General topics, instructor certification will remain a requirement to instruct Section 8 legal issues.
Wait a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries. Motion number 2, please.
Require instructors teaching Section 13, firearms of the SWAT operator course to have successfully completed a pistol instructor course or firearms instructor workshop for all SWAT operator courses approved on or after January 1st, 2026.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Rivera. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We will now move to action item number 4, basic course of police officers. And that is going to be done again by.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Sorry. For a quick change, I'll be quick. The basic course of police officers, vehicle stops and traffic enforcement section. We've become aware at the Office of Public Safety that the New York State Sheriff's Association has begun to administer a program called the Blue Envelope Program. And what this involves is that members of the community that are living with autism can obtain a blue envelope from their sheriff's office, local sheriff's office, and other locations. They can put their documents into this envelope and keep it in the glove compartment. And then upon an encounter with a police officer, they can provide this blue envelope to the police officer in circumstances that may be difficult for them to communicate as we would expect a person to communicate. That communication difference could be interpreted as non-compliance by the police officer. And so the blue envelope has instructions for the police officer and instructions for the motorist. And it seeks to reduce unnecessary confrontation at vehicle stops. And so we became aware of this. We'd like police officers in New York State to know. There are other blue envelope programs administered by other organizations in some areas. It's the state police, some local police departments have done this. And so it's likely that police officers in New York State will encounter either this blue envelope seen by the Sheriff's Association or other blue envelopes like it. We'd like for the officers to be aware of it and what it means. And so we're asking to add one learning objective to the vehicle and traffic stop section, which is recognize a blue envelope presented during a traffic stop and describe the effect of such a document on an officer's understanding of the driver's behavior. And then also just to make note, not asking for any council approval, just to advise you that we will make note of this in the disabilities curriculum as well within the basic section.
Questions from the council?
I just want to say, I think this is a great idea. If you ever plan to let organizations that work with those who have, let them know that this is something that is.
It's my understanding, and Sheriff Castle, Under Sheriff Castle can correct me if I'm wrong, there is a fair degree of cooperation already between the Sheriff's Association and some of those organizations. We can potentially partner with other state level organizations if that's something we could work out. But I believe there has been some outreach there, and they were, I believe, involved in the development of what this looks like, what the directions are.
We advise that it's not just this blue envelope, right? Because we have a visor card that they flip down and give to the, not necessarily blue envelope, but just as long as they know there's similar type things in the same, same line of thought here.
That's good to know, so we'll make a note of that as well. Thank you.
Was this a national movement that was started by the National Sheriff's Association, or?
I don't know. I know the Massachusetts State Police have done it. I know New Jersey State Police have adopted it. I know some local police departments have, some sheriff's offices independently within the state have. And I know this is last year the Sheriff's Association picked it up, but it is a nationally recognized initiative, and it just kind of seems to be making its way piecemeal across the state.
Yeah, this would be a very positive program for public relations, police public relations, and things like that. Hint.
I'll make sure the PIO knows.
Are there any other questions from the council? Okay, Commissioner Rivera will do the motion.
Adopt the revised section 41, vehicle stops and traffic enforcement section of the basic course for police officers or equivalent and campus public safety officer courses for courses approved on or after January 1st, 2026.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no opposition, no abstentions, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, from this point, we now go into some informational items. And we'll now go to the police supervision regulatory amendment update. Tasha.
Thank you. Back in March, the council voted to amend 9 NYCRR Part 6021, the police the course of police supervision to redesign it to align with current practices. Those regs are with the governor's office. We did have talks with them, no issues, just minor questions that they had. So I'm hopeful it will be adopted soon.
And then for information purposes, the reason that we did these amendments is because
So there's good news. The request for proposal process is complete. We do have a selected vendor who's going to be working with us to update the course of police supervision. Obviously, the change for these regulations to get out ahead of it, to not so as to limit us to the topics that are currently listed in the regulations as needed necessary components in the course of police supervision. We wanted to make the regulations more broad to allow flexibility depending on how the curriculum eventually ends up looking like in terms of representing contemporary police issues that are associated with first line supervisors. The process I would estimate is going to probably take at least 3 to 4, maybe 5 years to do. We're going to start off with a job task analysis first for first line supervisors. And then from there, we're going to build the curriculum out. Obviously, there'll be pilots involved and so on and so forth. So we'll be updating council as we go along in the process. Right now, we're in the process of just finalizing the contract with the vendor, and then we'll start that process moving forward.
And the current supervisory course is 3 weeks.
Yes. I want to say it's just shy.
I think so.
I think it's just shy of 3 weeks.
And the last time that this was updated was?
Well, it's been piecemeal updated. So, but when it was originally developed, we're looking at probably close to 15, 20 years now at this point.
Ever change, right?
Definitely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions for John? Questions? Okay. Now we'll move from supervisory amendments to the basic school resource officer curriculum update. Madam Becker?
Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to go over a couple edits and updates that have been made to the MPTC Basic School Resource Officer curriculum. This is the curriculum that was approved by this council in September of 2021. So recently, after going through the manual, we found some grammar errors and some semantic things that needed to be changed. So we partnered with the state education department. They spent a couple months going through the entire curriculum manual, and then we've had several meetings with them to come up with just minor changes. Nothing in way of curriculum or objectives, but there were some misspellings and some extra words and things in there that needed to be removed or updated. So we completed that in July. And over the summer, I also partnered with Stephen Leach from the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Unit with the Department of Homeland Security. The reason why I wanted to go to them directly is some of the organizations that are teaching the basic SRO school have partnered with them to teach the threat assessment section of the SRO curriculum. And so it made sense to have our curriculum align with the standards that they're using when they go out and teach. We didn't change any of our objectives or any of the curriculum was already there. There were some areas where some things were added to beef those up. But we wanted to ensure that it aligned with the New York State PTM teams and the programs that were already there. So those amendments were, again, some of it was semantics. There was some stuff in there about the Virginia model and the Salem-Kaiser model from back in the day. They're not necessarily using those in New York State. They're using their own version of it. So we just wanted to make sure everything was aligned and kosher there. But everything, training objectives, lesson titles, all of that remain the same. So there's nothing more to really say or give you updates on there. But if there are any questions, I can try to answer them.
Also have any questions? Just for background, the basic school resource officer curriculum was adopted. My memory.
September of 2021.
Thank you. And to date, do we have an idea of how many school districts have adopted school resource officers? Every time I read the paper, there's some school district, yes, no.
So we've seen it fluctuate. We've seen some areas with, that have gone through some budgetary issues with schools and they looked at maybe, removing their SRO, but then police agencies saw the benefit of keeping them there, so they paid for them. We see it increasing across the state. We see the need for the class increasing, which we try to get as many out there throughout the calendar year that we can. This year, we've already put, that I know of specifically, we've got close to 100 more SROs that have gone through the curriculum over the summer. And that increases with, 3 more classes that we have coming up. So there's another one in Saratoga County in October. So that'll be another 30 to 40 SROs certified. So the need is there. And a lot of that is due to schools adding SROs, but it's also due to some retirements, guys leaving and needing to backfill those spots with newer officers. We see some trends changing in how SROs are selected too. Recently, we've seen agencies recruiting people to come work for their agency specifically for SRO spots and not to work on the road. So whether that's right or wrong, but we see a couple of different things happening across the state. So there's definitely a need. There's an increase, and most school districts are open to it now. Where just a couple of years ago, there were some that were still kind of like not necessarily against it, but not for it. So.
Is the School Resource Officer Association, are they still active then?
Yep. So the main 2 entities that do our training are the New York State Sheriff's Association and the New York State Juvenile Officers.
State of New York Police Juvenile Officers.
There you go. So they're the 2 that we contract with for those, but we do provide the material so agencies could essentially put on their own. They're not going to get the same. They'll get the same curriculum, but they won't get the same experience that they get with either of those 2 organizations because they do a great job with what they're doing out there. So.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you very much. All right, this is not going to be a very popular statement, but we are going to move to, the chair is going to move to executive session. And do I have a second for that motion? Second, thank you very much. And so we're going to move to executive session. I'll ask that the room be cleared. I'll ask that the network be shut down. And as soon as we conclude our deliberations in executive session. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I move forward. All those in favor of the motion?
I'm sorry, just say why you're going to executive session.
Okay, we're going to into executive session to discuss the cut score time of the physical agility standard. After that's the main issue. As you know, we became the whole thing with physical agility standards for entry, and so we're having a discussion on that. Thank you. So, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Okay.
I didn't get the second. I heard. You did first.
I made the
okay. All right. But what I'll ask is anybody who's directly involved on the DCGS side of the physical fitness standards. So I would say everybody from counsel's office to obviously leadership, executive staff, and OPS, the council, obviously. Adam, who's directly involved in the project, and any supervisors in OPS, I would ask to stay. Anybody else, please don't be offended, but the project's not over, and for the integrity of the project, we need to maintain secrecy to the cut score, so to speak, to protect the data collection process.
That's the reason for executive session.
Right. All right, so the motion is carried.
It was carried.
Just want to make sure.
All right, so this is the problem. I forgot to say you two.